Mr.Edoreh joins us now. He's the chairman of Sports Writers Association of Nigeria Lagos chapter. Thank you for coming on this morning.
My pleasure.
Well, they'll be holding these retreats. They'll sit on the table and talk about it.
Yeah, sure.
So it's in a bid to. Is it the long or the much-awaited retreat now that sports has been asking for?
Well, much awaited, but let's just put it
much
this
talked
way.
about.
Yeah, the president said during his budget speech that there will be need for us to hold a presidential retreat on sports,
Okay.
so that we can talk about the things we need to do to reposition our sports. So that's exactly what we're doing now.
Are we talking, would it be sports generally or
football?
Or football?
No,
because we tend to usually tilt towards football here.
Well, some level of passion for football, but sports generally. I think it's a fallout of our performance or poor performance at the Olympics. So
let's see if we can paint a picture here. Where we used to be somewhere in terms of sports. Athletics. Football generally, sports generally. How did we get to this point where we have to have this kind of retreat?
Yeah, I think that maybe successively from administration to administration in the government and in sports particularly, I think that we left so many things, that we're supposed to fine-tune. So there was a collapse in the system, administrative management, facilities, policies, so many things we were not doing. So I think the world just left us behind, and we find that increasingly that we are not in competition at all. We are on another pole. The world is on another pole, and it comes to a point where we have to come to terms with the things that we are not doing and what the world is doing and what we should be doing, to be able to meet up.
So what do you think they should be focusing on today? Because, in sports, you all have talked about so many things before now.
Yeah, we talked about so many things, but perhaps sometimes we really didn't talk about the fundamentals. I'll give you a little example. Perhaps we can put sports into phases. At the point at which you discover young talents, at the point at which you train them as amateur, and at the point at which they become real elite, athletes, you expect very high performance from them because they'll be competing at the global level. And at those different stages, so many things need to come in. Now, if you take from the very basic level, let us say schools or youth sports, for instance, you find out that perhaps all the facilities, or let's put it this way, no school these days have the facilities to train young persons. So they're just there. You have young kids attending nursery, primary, secondary schools, no facilities, no real training, like we used to have it before. And they grow from that and they become amateurs, and still no facilities, no training program. And then we move to elite sports where a lot of science comes in, a lot of sports medicine, sports science, technology, very high standard facilities and programming, that also is not there. So I think really all these things, we just, like I said, the world left us behind and many things we have solid. But even in thoughts, I'll give you a few examples. For instance, when we are closing the Olympics, London 2012 Olympics, the Prime Minister of Britain came to say, look, this morning the Olympics is ending. We should be preparing our elite athletes for Rio. That's the next Olympics. And these are basic guarantees I want to give, that we have the elite sports program, but the government will be giving 125 million pounds for the training of elite athletes, And then you have a formation for the training of elite athletes. It's not a government thing. But apart from the elite athletes, we're going to put $1 billion for the regeneration of facilities and programs in school sports, so that when you have elite athletes, you're still going to invest in schools and other categories, so that you can have people to mature into the elite class.
Okay, sorry, I hope you don't mind if I come in here. We've not had I don't think the problem in Nigeria is a question of policies or programs. We seem to have some of the best programs and policies. What about the area of implementation?
No, we don't. I think that we just assume that we have. We really don't have. I still come back to schools, for instance, because before you even talk about elite athletes, an athlete that should compete at the Olympics, the Commonwealth Games, World Championship, you should be talking about how do you grow them to become elite athletes in the first place. And if you don't have such programs at schools, then you really cannot grow athletes that will come into that class. Now, I tell you, most of the athletes that have performed for us, even the one in the Olympics, the last Olympics, many of them were from schools in the US, universities. The relay quartet that won bronze for us in Beijing, 2008, 3 of them were from one school in the US, University of Texas, you know. So, Dumosu, who is doing the 400 meters for us from the US. So, they have access to training facilities. They have access to programs overseas. Now, we don't have any athlete that's really coming from here to compete at that level, you know. So, it's just a big problem. We don't have those politics because at the schools, nothing is happening.
But we keep doling out money every year to sports.
Even the money that we
go
dole out, we really don't dole out money. What is the budget of sports? The sports sector, what's the budget? 8 billion a year. I mean, and you factor in salaries, overheads.
Let's attempt to account for that 8 billion. I mean, where does it go to?
No, by the time you talk about the overheads in the ministries and things like that, let's just give a basic example. Now, the UK is saying we are putting 500 million between now and Rio. Now, if you evaluate it, 500 million to Naira, for instance, you know how much money that is. And you're going to use this one to prepare a class of athletes, elite athletes, for the next Olympics. They are putting 1 billion for school sports, facilities, and so on. Now, if you again, bring the Naira equivalent, you know what that means. So if you're talking about 8 billion Naira, really, you are not bringing something that compares with what the world is doing. Australia, for instance, about 250 million a year for school sports. School sports, put facilities here and there, schools in different zones that you have access to, gyms, basketball, tennis courts, swimming pools, all that. We don't have them.
But administration should pop up in this retreat.
Yeah, of course, administration has to pop up again. But when it comes to the issue of administration, what are we administering? The minister, for instance, is the Minister of Sports, and then chairman of the National Sports Commission. Now, if you say a commission, for instance, then you need to have commissioners. It's a kind of board, for which you are chairman, you are presiding over. Now, that board has not even been constituted. So the thoughts, the ideas are just, with due respect, a little unilateral, just from the ministry perspective. But when you say commission, you're really supposed to have a body of experts, professionals in sports, administration, management, technical,
political
sports science, and so on. You bring them all in to form the commission so that they handle different directorates. Then you are the chairman, so you know what you are dealing with. But basically, you are still at the ministry level. So whether you are a minister, whether you are a chairman, it is still the same ministry you are talking about. Nothing has changed. No new ideas has come. Not much professional input is being made and all that.
And the president or those federations, they cannot fit into this role.
Presidents of federations really are again somehow a bit political. They're going to elections from the different zones. But whether you have a federation or not, a federation is supposed to have different departments. Department of sports science, department of high performance, and all that. So, again, as chairman or president of federation, you are only supposed to be presiding, help maybe provide the political connection, between them and the ministry and the government to be able to access funds to do the things that you need to do. But we need to have experts working inside,
How should they come up to fill in those commissioner positions, these experts?
Well, let us put it this way. Now, if we say we need a commission, for instance, like we have said we need a commission, though the National Assembly has not even passed the act, so to speak, if you need a commission, you should be able to define what the commission needs to do for you, And if you're looking at high performance, if you're looking at elite sports, if you're looking at how you generate, then you should know that it is not a matter for politicians. You should know that you should be looking at people who have done maybe schools, professionals in school sports, professionals in programming, in talent hunting, professionals in sports medicine. You need nutritionists, you need physiotherapists, you need sports psychologists, you need a lot of people who come in to work with you, and then you put them into different departments. So everybody is working and bringing ideas to see how research, for instance, people should be looking at what is happening in other parts of the world and what should we be doing. What what is the latest, you know, in sports medicine, in sports science, in strategies, in programming, and all that.
All right. Now, this retreat is today.
Yeah.
Before today, there was a little bit of skirmish. There was a disagreement because some of the participants were told they'll have to take care of their own funding and all that. But the minister in the papers was reported as saying that he's finally got an approval for the funding. Now, seeing that there was already some kind of disagreement amongst the participants, what's the guarantee that this will come out well?
Well, again, it comes to the issue. We're talking about managing an event, you know, and this is the president saying, I want a retreat. Sports has gone too low in this country, and we need to bring people together to talk about it and set agenda. And we thought that, I mean, ab initio, they should have set up a budget to be able to handle that. Know the people you are inviting, what you need to provide for them. You know, if they're going to be 50, if they're going to be 100, who are they? Where are they coming from? You need to be able to handle all that. But somehow, I think that a little thing was deliberate here, because I see a tendency for them to constrain debate in the sports